Hey guys, Jacob with Jacob Comics. Alright, we have a really fun episode. Tonight we're going to be reviewing Batman 1061 with that really cool cover. Um, you, got, you got Batman and Talia. And yeah, I bet everybody's curious if that actually happens inside. And look, too, she's kind of maybe stabbing him in the back? I don't know. Alright, guys. Before we get dived into Detective Comics 1061, I do want to let you guys know about our 300 subscriber giveaway. Now, when we hit 300 subscribers, we'll be giving this book away. It's the Absolute Carnage #1 Murder Rose store exclusive variant cover. And all you have to do is like the video, comment down below, and be subscribed to the channel, and that'll give you a chance to win. And when we hit 300 subscribers, we'll raffle off the book and I'll put up a video notifying the winner. All right, let's go ahead and get dived into Detective Comics 1061. Now, as always, there's a couple of things that we do got to go over before we get completely dived into the issue. First off, I do want to let you guys know that we're going to go heavy into spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled for Detective Comics 1061, that is your warning. All right. The next thing that we always want to do is cover shout out the creative team, because without the creative team, we wouldn't have a comic book. Now, like usual with these detective comics, there is a front story and then a backup story. So I'll give the backup stories creative team when I get to it. But for the first story, the creative team is Mariko Tamaki and Nadia Shamas are the writers. The artist is Ivan Reese. The inks are done by Danny Mickey. The colors by Brad Anderson. And the letters by Ariana Maher. All right, guys, let's get dived right into the issue. And as we saw last time, Talia has actually showed up and is talking to the Riddler like they are on the same team. And we're gonna find out here. Uh, they are, because he says, "I was wondering when you'd show up after that cryptic call I got from you during our little shadow war. I've been having so much fun playing with those ideas you put in my head, Talia." And she says, "What's your end game, Edward?" He says, "End game? Why would I want to play a game that ends? Very motherly of you, trying to make me put away my toys, Miss Al Ghul. You got what you wanted, destabilizing the upper crust with Darby Turner information, everything, to help you sow your seeds and watch your power bloom." She replies, "And in exchange, I gave you the perfect bait to wrangle in Batman, Deborah Donovan." He replies, "Miss Donovan was quite a victory. Are you telling me you're concerned now?" She says, "I forgot, Ed. You're just like a cat battling around a bloody mouse. You know that if the prey dies, the fun is over." Edward replies, "Would you like to stay for the broadcast? It's a good one." She says, "And no, I have other matters to attend to." "Suit yourself," he replies. "Hello, citizens. We're friends, right? And friends speak plainly, no? Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." Really, Gotham is a city proposed of saints, doing their best to aim through their glass houses. We all like to pretend our lovely glass houses are clean, but if you knew the inspector was on his way, what would you do to keep him out? As we see Batman and Carolyn, who's just murdered this guy, and he says to Carolyn, "I don't know how you got involved in all this, Carolyn, but please put the gun down." And she says, I can't. Too far gone. I'm too far gone, Batman." Batman says, "What did you do? What did you do?" And then it goes to 1 month ago. We see in a therapy session um, that Carolyn has actually kind of orchestrated this whole thing from the beginning. She was like a therapist at just hold on a second, at the Arkham Tower, and so she had all these people like in kind of a therapy meeting together, and then pointed them all out and was like that they had all done crimes and that they were hiding and were ashamed of, and slowly but surely got everyone to admit it, and then kind of got them all to basically they ended up being blackmailed by uh, the Riddler when the Riddler gets all of Carolyn's files on all these people. She was trying to do good, but then it ended up going poorly when the Riddler got the files and started to serve justice upon them all, basically. Um, and so she's really upset, and her mom comes running up and says, "Carolyn, baby, my baby, why did you kill him?" This is back in present time, and she says, because it was the right thing to do. And the Riddler, a big explosion takes place, and the Riddler vanishes with her, and Batman's like, she's gone. And so the Riddler kind of vanished with Carolyn. Her mom's upset as well, and then so back to more Riddler monologuing on his show, and he says, "I spend a lot of time thinking, asking myself questions. Lately, I've been thinking about innocence." By the way, he left a note if you saw there on the when he took her. And he continues, "I have a certain past, one of harm and criminal misdeeds. I've been trying to make sense of what I've done and who I am. I am not more than my suit, my moniker, my deeds. What's in a name, Gotham? Some of us lead double lives, some of us are true, but I'm realizing it's about truth, who we think we are, and what happens when the lie of that is revealed. My viewers, if life is but a stage, are the roles assigned? When is a murderer? Not a murderer. When is a hero? Not a hero." As Batman jumps in because he's kind of figured out where he is, the note led him to him, and he crashes in and says, "Riddler!" And then you get some glimpses of people on their iPhones like watching Riddler's live broadcast, and he's like, "Look, is this real? Batman showed up. Hey, everybody, gather around. Let's watch Batman beat him up." And one of the people says, "But the Riddler, did he even do anything wrong?" And Riddler says, "You found my envelope." Batman says, "Where is she? Where is Caroline Donovan?" He says, "Miss Donovan, not sure who you're talking about." And Batman punches him in the face. Where then Riddler replies, "Oh yes, Carolyn. Who could forget her with her angelic features? But that's just the mask. You and I both know about masks, don't we?" And Batman thinks the envelope tied together. Carolyn threw out cases for the DA. The DA, who it turns out is a client of Chase Meridian's. Chase and the DA, who helped Dr. Ware. Dr. Ware, brother of Sarah Pett, is also a client of Chase's. Chase is at the center. She has to be at the center. As he continues to pummel the Riddler, Chase and the Riddler, they must have made her. And Riddler's phone starts ringing, and on the caller ID it shows as Carolyn Donovan. And Riddler repeats again, except this time with an answer to his riddle. He says, "When is a murderer not a murderer? When you look the other way. When is a hero not a hero? When they take off their mask." And Batman replies, "You want to unmask me, Riddler?" Riddler says, "No, I want you to unmask yourself." As Batman answers the phone, and you hear through the phone, says, "Hello, Batman." He says, "Carolyn." She says, "Riddle me this. If justice is blind, who will tell her when there's a finger on the scales? I wonder if Chase or Carolyn would weigh in on the matter." As we see some really awesome art here, Batman figures out that clue like instantaneously. So we have Chase Meridian and Carolyn Donovan both hanging for their dear life from the scales on this giant statue in Gotham over the water. And so Batgirl and Batman show up, and he's like, "Thank you for coming, Batgirl." And she says, "You need backup? This is the Riddler?" He says, "Yes." As there's like a broadcast of the Riddler still monologuing away, saying, "They were the face of justice. In their hands, Gotham was failed. When is a murderer not a murderer? When you decide to look away." Basically, he's repeating his. And as Batgirl jumps up, she's like, "So then this is a trap." Batman says, "Most likely." She says, "I'll go left, you go right." And so they both jump up there using batarangs and ropes. And real quickly, one goes to save Chase Meridian, which is Batgirl, and Batman goes to save Carolyn Donovan. And so Batgirl is able to save Chase Meridian. However, Batman saves Carolyn, but he's got her in his arms and has saved her, and he says, "Carolyn." And she says, "That voice." And he says, "Carolyn, you don't have to do this. Whatever the Riddler threatened you with." She says, "I wasn't threatened. Don't you understand? I couldn't sleep. I had insomnia for years. At first, I took the money to help my mom. Her health insurance was garbage, and she was sick, really sick. But then, as I talked to Chase, I stopped being able to see the difference between myself and the people I was judging. How could I? And then I watched the streams. I watched every day. I don't know why. Riddler sought me out. I don't know how he found me. He talked about absolution. He talked about sending a message. And I realized what I was holding on to was a perception of who I was. I wasn't a hero. I wasn't a good person. And now I don't have to pretend to be. I used to sleep like a murderer, tossing and turning all night. Now that I've killed, I feel like I could sleep in peace for the first time." And he says, "The Riddler provides no clarity, only doubt. You needed help." And she says, "I was scared at first. I didn't know his plan, just how it would end. But after that, I fired that gun. I knew he was right all along. If you want justice, take it into your own hands. That's what you do. And that's what I'm doing now." As she, so you can see, without just getting my explanation, as she swiftly knees Batman to the chin, kind of unexpectedly, like he wasn't expecting it, and he drops her to what appears to be her death. As we see on the other panel here, Batman's screaming in agony of having not saved the day. And she's actually kind of got a peaceful look on her face as she's falling hundreds and hundreds of feet down into the water with a blindfold on and restrained, so she wouldn't be able to swim. And then so there's a little bit after that where the believe it's yeah, I don't know, it's a detective. Says, I'm sorry, Batman, there just isn't any evidence to tie Riddler to this." And he says, "What about the calls, the envelopes?" And she says, "There was only one call. He wasn't even the one to pick up. Worse yet, some people are calling him a hero for getting a crooked judge to admit everything. They weren't citizen criminals after all. They were just criminals who weren't caught and people thank the Riddler for that service. And another officer you can see in the distance is coming up to talk to Chase Donovan's or excuse me, Carolyn Donovan's mom, and he says to her, "No body has been found yet, Miss Donovan. We'll keep looking." And Batman comes up to her and says, "Deb, I'm sorry." She says, "You must talk to grieving mothers every day. Bet you made a few of your own." He says, "Carolyn was." She says, "No, don't do that. Don't talk like you knew her. You didn't know her." And he says, That's true. We'll get justice for her. I'll make the Riddler answer for what he's done." She says, "That's the thing. He isn't the one responsible, is he? She was my own daughter." And he says, "You believe that about her?" And she says, "I don't know what I believe anymore. All I know, even if she's alive, she's changed in a dark way. I hope I never see her again. But in another way, I think about the little girl she was, and there's no lesson to learn to this. It's just tragedy." And Batman says to her, "I've always admired your dedication to good, to truth. I'll be there if you need me." As Batman, we see later, um, is kind of in his cave. He's talking to himself, and he says, I thought you were the one tired of villains in the shadows. What are you doing here, Talia?" As Talia kind of comes up, and she says, "I was just taking a stroll and wound up in the wrong cave. I don't have a motive if that's why you're asking. I wasn't doing this for any message. I just needed some favors." And Batman says, "You're the one who gave the Riddler the Donovans? And you're the one who was spying out the rest outside the restaurant, weren't you?" She says, It wasn't for Ed, you know. I gave him Deborah. He's the one who found Caroline. And really, I never imagined you'd date her. But when I did see that, I'm just checking in, Bruce." He says, "You feel bad?" She says, "No, I think I did you both a favor. You clearly got a type, beloved. Troubled girls with dark deeds on their minds. And trust me, it never ends well. Your belief is unwavering in what you do, and I've always liked that about you, even when I hated it." As Batman thinks as Talia walks away, belief in justice. Maybe for now that's enough. As we end the Riddle Me This 3-part, and then we have the backup story, which is also the finale of this Gotham Girl tale. And in the last issue, Gotham Girl thought that Chase Meridian was doing bad things and hurting people, and had like a kind of a lab set up to perform experiments basically on superpowered people. And so she had attempted to kill her. However, we find out in this issue, as she's pushing her out the window, Huntress shows up and saves Chase Meridian, and then shoots Gotham Girl in the arm with an arrow right here. And then they kind of get into a fight and tussle. That knocks Gotham Girl out for maybe 15 seconds or so, but then she kind of comes back back with a force, and starts eye beaming, and yeah, she doesn't hurt anybody, but they kind of, Chase comes over and starts ringing a bell, and is like, gets their attention, and is like, kind of like, "Explain to me what's going on, why you're trying to kill me. The last time we talked, we were like good friends, basically. I have no idea what's going on. I don't even, please explain it to me." And so then she's like, well, I thought you were performing these experiments and the emails were coming from you to my dead friend. And she's like, no, that wasn't me. Well, the only person that could have had access to my emails was uh Margot. And so they go and they confront Margot, and Margot admits that, yep, she was she was actually the one. And so they sort of talk her into letting them know where exactly these experiments are taking place so they can go stop it. And kind of oddly enough, Gotham Girl flicks um, Margot's ear off, like completely. And then they kind of have a conversation about that too. She's like, relax. Didn't Alfred Pennyworth get his hand surgically reattached at one time? And ears nothing. Um, and so I don't know. We kind of get a glimpse of this guy saying like, "Save me," right here. I'm not sure if that's a teaser for something later, because I don't know. They jump right past, like, they break all the machinery or whatever, and she's just like, I gotta go, and she takes off, flies way up high in the sky, and talks about how that's kind of like her version of Xanax, and it knocks her out a little bit, and she falls back down to the earth, and then goes back to her Batcave with her friend head thing that she talks to, the stone golem head. And who's sitting there is Huntress, and Huntress talks to her and offers her some dinner and is like, hey, let's hang out. And they kind of talk a little bit, and Huntress tries to tell her that there's people that still care. And maybe Andre just wanted a connection. And then she's sitting there kind of looking at the computer, and she's like, connection. And then who shows up but Talia, and she says, not my preferred outcome, Gotham Girl, still clinging to her sanity. The little nudges didn't work to set you off, sweet girl. No matter, I'll just have to come up with a more aggressive approach. The daughter of the demon could use a Superman of her own. So maybe like Talia is recruiting Gotham Girl to be her muscle. I'm not sure. It says the end, and follow Talia al Ghul's adventures in the pages of Batman vs. Robin coming soon. All right, guys. So I definitely liked the first story, Tamaki and Shamas, and the wrap up of the Riddler, the 3-part Riddler arc that they had. And I had fun with the Riddler arc. There was no real resolution to it though, and it's sort of left with the Riddler as a possible anti-hero. He seems to be taking out criminals and stuff, but in a more dirty fashion, and he's not afraid to have people killed, and so he's definitely not a good guy, right? But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting, and I'm kind of curious where the next writers that are taking over will take that, if they'll pick back up with that at all. I don't know. But yeah, I've always liked the Riddler as a bad guy, and so I loved a lot of the monologues. I think it was written very well. The art on the first one, the Batman portion, um, you know, Ivan Reese and Mickey. Yeah, it's always been a really wonderful kind of a dark noir style, which is, obviously that's kind of what you want from Detective Comics. It's supposed to be a detect, yeah, man. So it's noir. It's wonderful. I love it. And so yeah, I give the I'm gonna split this into two here. I give the first, what I'm saying, the first story I give a thumbs up, and then the second story, which I believe I forgot to shout out the creative team. So we have Sina Grace as the writer, David Lapham as the artist, Trish Mulvihill as colors, and Rob Lay doing the letters. And this last one, I I'm not the most giant Gotham Girl fan, and so that wasn't, that part of it wasn't I'm not on board just with Gotham Girl. I'm not kind of on board just because Huntress shows up. And I found this. I'm just it's honesty. I found the story kind of rushed, and again, the art not quite what I would be be looking for from Detective Comics. It feels like a different comic book. Honestly, if it feels like something that it's not bad. I'm not saying there's anything bad about it. It just feels like it's aimed at a bit younger demographic, and possibly would be better served as its own book. But I guess it was such a you know it's kind of sad too because I feel like they had some good ideas here, and had they elongated this last part out here, um, and maybe meted out some of the earlier stuff, this could have served itself very well as a 12 issue miniseries. It the 3 issues that this has been the backup story for, it hasn't been a bad arc that they have for Gotham Girl. That's not actually my problem. My problem is just that it feels a little rushed. And so in the end, that's honestly not the writer's fault. And then my only problem with the art is that I just don't feel there's nothing wrong with the art. The art's wonderful. It just doesn't really belong in a detective comics. It's I don't think this panel here before is the best to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about. It it's kind of like a Justice League, or you know what I'm saying, like a younger Justice League book, and that's not it. I'm If that's what I was reading and stuff, like, I would not have a problem with it at all. But I'm just like, why? What's going on with this backup story? Anyways, it 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 uh it does wrap up sorta, and I guess that's my other problem with it. I'm going on, but like I did have some questions with this here at the end. Um, it doesn't even seem like she destroys the lab, or does she, I guess she leaves that in the hands of Chase Meridian and and Huntress, but she takes off, and so we follow her, and then Talia, and then Huntress shows up and talks to her for a little while and seemingly tries to befriend her, and then Talia shows up and tries to befriend her. It's kind of overall a little bit confusing, I guess. I don't know what's going on with that story all that much. Like, outside of the fact of the arc of her friend and Chase Meridian being the setup, and then that I'm not gonna hammer that to death. I didn't like it. I have to give it a thumbs down. I'm sorry. Anyways, so that's Detective Comics 1061. We get a thumbs up on the first half, and Mariko Tamaki, Shimasana, them, and I believe this is their last issue. Don't quote me on that, but I think it says here at the end to be prepared for a new team, and yeah, so that's a shame. I guess the one last comment I do have on the book, and I wanted to bring up, was that now that we're past the spoiler point, what that never happens. I hate when comic books do that. Man, like, it's a wonderful cover. It's beautiful, and it does actually happen 2 issues earlier earlier in 1059. So I guess it like did happen, but okay. It doesn't happen. It sort of leads you to believe that maybe some more is gonna happen with this love, uh, with his interest in Talia al Ghul, and that maybe something was gonna happen, but nothing really happens, and she just kind of walks away at the end there. All right, guys, that's what I have today. Batman Detective Comics gets a thumbs up first half and a thumbs down on the second half. And yeah, remember, if you guys like this kind of content, yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and give yourself a chance to win the Absolute Carnage #1 Murder Rose store exclusive variant cover. And if you want to help support the channel, click the link below, shop on my eBay store, and I'll send you some comic books. Alright, guys, we'll see you tomorrow, and have a great day.